want to share a story about a really special man. His name is Chuck Cassey. He died a few years ago, and I honestly can't remember what year it was. I think it was 2016, maybe. But I'm considering getting involved in the local community chorus, which I've done years ago when I first moved here, but it was, it wasn't the best, So they're getting ready to do the Christmas, start rehearsing for the Christmas program. And one of the songs she's chosen to sing is one that was arranged by Chuck. Several years ago, 20 years ago or more, I was involved in a vocal group, a jazz vocal group called the Flowtones. And Chuck was our director. Chuck was the most amazing arranger of music. And so he made it really cool to be a part of that group. So I really wanted to be in the Flowtones. Had to go audition for Chuck, and I remember being so terrified because I didn't know him at all, and he was just this. He arranged music or was some kind of music. He either did the music. I think he did the music for the show Kojak, and for the Jimmy Dean show and stuff. He was in the Army band. I mean, the guy, he knew what he was doing, and he was so humble. It turned out. But anyway, so I went to his house and I auditioned, and he said, okay, he let me in. And then we were rehearsing for this concert that they were just getting started with rehearsals for this concert. This was in about June or July, and the concert was for September 30th, 2005. We had this concert, it was called Eclectic. It was just the most amazing concert ever that I've ever been a part of. I mean, we sounded good. It was just this really well received and just polished concert. And then, it was like we were on a high afterwards. And the next day, my son died. It was like, when I think about it, I just kind of got a pit in my stomach just thinking about it, because I haven't really thought about the juxtaposition of that until now, not for a while. And it was like I went from this amazing high to the worst day of my life, like the next day. It was, I can't even describe it. It was horrible, the worst day of my life. But the reason I even brought this up is because, I'd only known Chuck for, like 3 months, 2.5 months. And when Casey died, Chuck was one of the first people to call me. And he said, what do you want us to do? And I'm getting all choked up thinking about it. I said, what do you mean? And he says, he said, I can have the Flowtones. Because my son he was in the military. He was in Fort Hood, Texas, and I'm in Oregon. And so I went down there for his service, but his body was shipped up here to Oregon, which was about a 3-hour drive away from where I live. It still is a 3-hour drive. And I said, well, not everybody, and we don't know, you don't need to do that. And so he was offering to have the Flowtones come and sing at his memorial service we were having, where he was being buried. And I said, no, I can't do that. And he says, well, I'll come play. Linda and I will come and play. And I said, well, that would, I said, I don't know. That would be wonderful, but I don't know. So this man, who I barely knew, and his wife drove 3 hours to this cemetery, and we had this little short thing, and they sang their song, and I can't tell you what that song was. It was just such the worst day of my life. The second worst, were the lots of worst days in that time period. But anyway, it was just like the most beautiful thing anybody's ever done. That was a true act of love. And so we, we got to be friends, kind of. I mean, not professional. So he's a very, very special man. And honestly, that's one of the reasons I thought I kind of want to be in this chorus, because she's doing one of his songs. And so anyway, I just really wanted to share that about Chuck, that there are really kind people out there, and those are the kind of people we should try to be for each other, to reach out and help somebody when they're hurting. Anyway, I hope you made it through this, and if not, I just want anybody who may ever runs across this to know that Chuck Cassey existed, and he was amazing. All right, thanks for listening. Talk to you later.